Well, howdy, I'm John Mark Dempsey, and second cup of coffee conversation here with Dr. Deana Steeber, Superintendent of the Sulphur Springs ISD. We have touched on the legislative session from time to time in our talks, but it's kind of difficult because things are in such a state of flux. And you would hear this, and then you would hear that, and the House and the Senate. But now we at least know pretty well what came out of the regular session anyway. So what's your general take on what happened in Austin here since January?
I think some of it is, it's definitely good, and some of it, not so good. Some of it maybe a little frustrating. But, of course, we're grateful for the, the school funding. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like. Just kind of we're working on, running numbers, and, that has made it through the House and Senate, but the governor hasn't signed it yet. And so once that happens, then it'll actually be official.
Right. Well, that is something to bear in mind. I think in most cases there's not much doubt that he will sign whatever they have sent to him, but there's always the possibility that on some of these he won't. You mentioned some of it's good. So what did you like that came out of it?
Well, the school funding.
Okay.
I think probably the most frustrating piece of it was the assessment, accountability and assessment, that couldn't come to agreement on.
Now you're talking about the STAR?
STAR,
Uh-huh.
Yes, the STAR test.
And when you say assessment, accountability and assessment.
Yes.
Now we're talking about the sort of the report card type grades that the schools get, which are based on the STAR test.
Largely,
yes,
largely. I mean, there are a
not
few
entirely.
other, not entirely, but really for the elementaries, it's pretty much just based on the STAR test. And once you get into high school, there's a little bit that's offset by like college, career, military readiness, that kind of thing. But yeah, it is mostly based on the STAR test.
And the House and the Senate just could not come to a compromise. They had different ideas about what to do about the STAR test, and they ended up not doing anything.
Right. The House had a pretty good option, put out there, but it didn't make it through the Senate. So.
Well, one of the things they had talked about was that instead of having one big, scary test at the end of the year, so to speak, you'd have 3 tests during the year, and so you wouldn't have so much pressure put on one particular test. But that, again, did not get through.
Yes,
so maybe, I wonder, there's been some talk about a special session, maybe they'll
maybe so.
Pick it
maybe
up
so.
there.
Yes.
But you would like to see some kind of change.
Sure.
With that.
Yes, we would definitely like to see some kind of change. It's very punitive.
Yeah, we haven't talked, I don't think, since the ratings came out, which were from a couple of years ago.
From a couple of years ago.
It was so weird.
Yes.
But I think the overall grade for Sulphur Springs schools was a B.
A B,
And there was some specific areas that were a bit lower than last year. But were you fairly comfortable with how that came out?
Yeah, I mean, we had run our predictions, and so there weren't any surprises for us. When it came out, it was what we thought it was going to be. It's just 2 years after the fact,
right?
So
very
you can't
confusing.
really use it to, we had already predicted and made adjustments based on what we had predicted, and same thing for 24, 25, those haven't been released yet.
Right.
We anticipate that they will be, but again,
and that has to do with
late.
Some schools protesting over how the grades are being handled, and so it goes through the courts or whatever.
Yes, it was There were districts in the state. We were not a part of it, but there were districts in the state that filed a lawsuit,
Right.
and it basically had to do with changing the rules
Yep.
after all the data
Yep.
was collected.
After the fact. Yeah.
Yes.
So $8.5 billion base funding. What I read is teachers for districts of fewer than 5,000 students, that would include Sulphur Springs,
That would, yes.
would get raises from $4,000 to $8,000 depending on their experience. That
Yes.
sounds pretty good,
It sounds,
at face value.
certainly, I mean, we certainly hope that that's what it looks like when it's, after it's interpreted and everything. We certainly hope that. We're still waiting to hear, is this, just for this biennium, or is this, does it continue? They did not do an increase to the actual pay scale, like the state has a minimum pay scale. They didn't change that. We would have liked to have seen that brought up to where it needs to be, so that it is, not just a, that guarantees that it's not just a one biennium.
2-year matter.
Yes.
You mentioned we're almost out of time. You have a teacher shortage, and all school districts
sure.
in Texas probably have a teacher shortage. Maybe this will help somewhat.
Oh, I sure hope so, for sure. Yes. And we're always looking for ways to increase our teacher pay and for all of our employees. But yes, really since COVID, most districts, I would say across the state, but really across the country, are experiencing a teacher shortage. And
Sure.
yes, we would like to see something addressed, whether it's TEA or the legislature in, recruitment from universities, like, recruitment into those teacher programs, because they have seen a reduction in just number of people in those programs.
People coming into education
Correct,
programs
right.
at the university.
Yes.
Yeah. We're out of time for now, but Dr. Deana Steeber is the superintendent of Sulphur Springs ISD. I'm John Mark Dempsey. This is KSST.